know something? If you had told us 1 year ago that we were going to come in third in Iowa, we would have given anything for that. And you know something? You know something? Not only are we going to New Hampshire, Tom Larkin, we're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. We're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
Oh, God. That is one of my most favorite clips, political clips. That was Howard Dean when he was running for president back in some time ago, I think 2004. And because he did that, people saw him as kind of like unfit, and he was like quickly thrown out the race. But this is I've Got Questions, and welcome back. It's a lot going on in the world today, but I did want to talk about dating for a second. Again, which I talked about in my last episode, kind of like the last segment of it. So it's kind of like a little continuation, if you will. I just want to say that you must recognize signs in people, you know. I don't want to be negative and say that, you know, you shouldn't date at all. You shouldn't do, you know, dating is, I think, in a pandemic, first of all, it could be very dangerous anyway. You know, I know people are looking for solitude and compassion and whatnot. And we haven't ever had this kind of moment where we were apart, where we weren't like all over each other, and in each other's faces, you know, essentially. And it's different. And, you know, a lot of us still have not been able to get used to it, you know, or find a way through it, you know. And I think that speaks to a lot with mental health in this country, that it's not taken seriously at all. You just have pretty much a bunch of bots just working and working and working and working and working. And what do you have? You know, once you stop working, or if you're fired, you know, you can be, you know, anything could happen. You could have a hospitalization, you know, a tornado could hit your house, and that's where you worked from home, and, you know, there's a whole thing with that. I mean, there's so much that goes on, and then there's, you know, not enough care and benefit for you. And I just feel like in this time, you know, you really need to start securing yourself, and really thinking about dating. And if you are going to date someone, you know, or if you are going to be open to it, like I said, I just think that, you know, you must recognize signs in people, especially people saying that they want to marry you, or that you're going to be, you know, their husband or their wife. You know, that's probably not the best sign, especially when you haven't even met yet. And I know a lot of us are online on apps and Instagramming and DMing, you know, which is pretty much the same to me than, you know, those nastier apps that people tend to be on, which I'm not on right now, so I haven't been on for a while. I'm not into that at the moment. But like I said, I'm not trying to be negative on dating just because I'm not. I'm just, you know, saying that right now you need to check into yourself, and that, you know, I do believe that, I do believe in love at first sight. I think you can definitely fall for someone based on energy, but, you know, when people are talking marriage to you very, very early in the game, even if they're like, oh, I'm just joking, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you're a little too old to be joking about that. It's at a certain point, I don't think certain people you can see have become more desperate in a sense, to be in a relationship just because of especially what's going on. There's a lot of death in this world. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of loneliness in this world, and I think we have more things to worry about. We just have to kind of like live at this point. If you find a relationship, kudos to you, or kudos to you, as Ramona Singer would say. But now may be the best time of all times to really work on you, build you up, secure something you never secured, accomplish something you didn't have the time to pursue, get back to you. That's all I want to say. Just on relationships. I didn't want to say that, like I said, I didn't want to say relationships are negative or not to look, but just take your time. Even if you find someone that you kind of like, take your time. There's no need to rush to these levels of certification, I think that's the worst thing sometimes. We worry about what, you're considered as, before you even really have a relationship or friendship. I think and really more important is to work on a friendship more than a relationship. Sad day, Michael K. Williams, of many, 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 many movies, many TV shows, many everything. Michael K. Williams passed away. His nephew found him after he was missing for a few days. It's a sad, event when anyone obviously passes away, but it's definitely sad when it comes to someone who has an addiction problem and that has publicly acknowledged an addiction problem. He's been in so many things that we've all seen, that we've all loved. He was just cast in a movie, I think, about George Foreman. He was, in Lovecraft, When They See Us, 12 Years a Slave, so many movies, Django, The Purge, a few Purge movies he was in. I Think I Love My Wife with Chris Rock. So many movies. And the number one thing that people talk about, obviously, is his role as Omar Little in The Wire, which is, his most pivotal role. He was born on November 22nd, 1966, from a mother who immigrated from the Bahamas, actually. So, off the strength of, a mother who was an immigrant, we were blessed with such a talent. He said he saw a lot of homophobia in his community, and that Omar definitely helped soften the blow of homophobia in my community, and it opened up a dialogue, definitely. And I talked about that on my last episode with the Black community and homophobia, and when could it really end? It's definitely circled and doused in gasoline of religion, but it's just like, wow, we have so many things to fight for, and the division in our community is definite. It's hurtful and it's definite, because there are people out there who just want to live and be themselves, and it's hard for them to try to be themselves when they have people shaking their head, rolling their eyes. Oh, he's got to be one of them. Or you have women who, like I saw a lady post something on Facebook one time, and she was talking about like how this kind of, and it was a gay guy, could never be for her, and it's just like, who said he wanted you? What made you the one to be wanted? And it's just this amount of hate that we continue to allow just under this, I guess, religious thing that we want to hold on to that we don't even practice, And then you want to blame people like Lil Nas X on children growing up gay as if no child ever grew up gay. It's definitely something that we're going to talk about forever because, like Oprah said, about racist people, you got to wait for the old ones to die, which I don't think that's just the case, as I talked about Kyle Rittenhouse last episode. But, do we have to wait for the old black ones to die? Is that the only thing that we need to wait for, or do we need to call it out? Or, call it out even with ourselves. There are rappers and YouTube stars that do sus pranks on each other. That's weird. Like, there's a whole sus thing, But when it comes to actually allowing people to be themselves, there's hatred and turmoil. And I feel like when I was watching Omar Little on The Wire, growing up as, whatever, I didn't know who or what I really was, but he gave me a different perspective on what it would be to be a gay black male. And the fact that he was a gun-toting gunslinger and he didn't give a fuck, it was like, yeah, that's a cool guy. And he, had a boyfriend. It was this guy being like Robin Hood, pretty much, stealing from the people who were really hurting the community and, taking their money, taking their drugs and all that, and taking it for himself and giving back at times. And I just feel like he was a superhero in a sense, because there's not much representation for us as black males growing up in the LGBTQI plus spectrum. There's not enough, and there's not even enough now, or, they're overtly feminine, casted or written that way, as to be feminine or someone's sidekick, not as a leader, not as a superhero, not as someone to look up to. Definitely characters to love, but not someone you want to follow. And Omar Little was definitely that guy. And that character couldn't have been done by, you always hear someone say it couldn't be done by anyone else, but you can't see it as anyone else. Here's a person who had this scar on his face when he got the scar when he was 25 years old. And that scar almost killed him. He was spending his birthday at a bar in Queens when a man slashed his face with a razor blade during a fight. He was doing background dancers, but he was doing, not he was doing background dancers. He could have. I'm sure he's lived a great life. He used to be a background dancer for George Michael, Madonna, Crystal Waters. He even danced for Genuine. Jump on it. Yeah, he did that. He was there. and you can see him in the background for Genuine. And after that slashing, pretty much directors wouldn't work with him. And then he was casted with Tupac in a movie, Bullet, and then he went on to get more roles and more roles, and then there was The Wire. And The Wire has been regarded as one of the greatest shows ever. And then he was in Lovecraft Country, which is also regarded as one of the greatest shows ever of this current time, you know, where we talked about race relations and all that, and we put it all into one perspective and a thriller, and you know, and now it's no more. But I talked about that on the last show too. So weird how these things happen, and then I just recently talked about them, but or you know, 6 Degrees, right? That's just life, right? There's always some kind of connection going on with the next day, obviously, but on a deeper level. Sad. I mean, like I said, he was allegedly found with heroin around him. You know, you never know what people are going through. You never know what it feels like to hurt from the inside out. And to do heroin, you know, I'm not a person who aspires to dabble in drugs that make me go to an alternate reality. I'm just not. It's not my thing. If you ever hear about it, that I did that, it's a lie. I'm saying it right now. It's not one of my things. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. Wherever there is, where you see people bent over and just in a daze that lasts for so long, it seems like, and then that itch for needing it more, I never want to be there, ever. And heroin is that. You know, I know someone, you know, who back then, their brother had a heroin problem. And it was sad to see what their family went through. Missing him, not knowing where he is. You know, that's sad. And the saddest part is, you know, who owns the most drugs? You know, who could put a real stop on this is the federal government. Who could really help us more, you know? Because it's too much. There's not enough help. There's people hurting out there, hurting and coping and behind these drugs. And then there's these drugs that are getting laced with fentanyl. You know, Michael K. Williams, he may have just been taking a little dose of heroin, you know, not that I'm supporting heroin or anything like that. I do support how there are many countries out there who have legalized many of these drugs, because there are people who just hiding, you know, themselves doing it and doing it in ways that kill them or, you know, kill other people. There was this actor, Fuquan Johnson, I believe that's his name. He also died this weekend because he and 3 other people were taking some drugs, and it was apparently laced with fentanyl. But I do want to play one little. I want to play 2 things from Michael K. Williams. Here's one of the clips from The Wire, one of his best scenes from The Wire.
That's my money. Man, money ain't got no owners. Only spenders. I tell you something else. I like that ring too. Boy, you got me confused when a man repeats himself. whole lot easier than they can find me. Where it in health. No doubt.
You know, it was just his grace and how he played this character. And no, they couldn't really find him for a very long time. And it was his cadence and how he would say things, and I just always thought that it was just very amazing how he would play this role. And he really got into this role, you know, and that's one thing I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, you know, not that everyone always owes everyone anything, right? But you got to think about these actors who really get into a role, and then they get so in depth with it, and then they start trying, you know, not trying to be the character. Well, essentially, yeah, but they get so, like, you look at Heath Ledger and all these people who get so into these roles, and then they die. Here's his last post that Michael K. Williams posted on his Instagram, which is, to me, quite chilling, that this is the last post that he left.
Y'all can't help Adam.
Let me,
Don't cry for me. Y'all can't help Adam. Misfortune accident. Don't cry for me. Cry for others, man. My grandmother told me, when you think you doing bad, there's always somebody out there worse. There's people out there in the world with nobody love. Nobody love them. How about that? What is happiness? What is happiness? What is happiness? Whatever you think it is wrong. It's simpler than that, man. It's way simpler than that. You know what true happiness is? Having something to look forward to.
That's that was Tracy Morgan on a clip on The Breakfast Club, talking about when he was in an accident that almost killed him, and Michael K. Williams posted that I think it was 3-4 days ago. And to me, it's just, you know, when someone dies and you kind of get the last thing they wrote, you know, and he says, "Don't cry for me," you know. You kind of got to look at that and just realize what this man gave to black acting and the black community as an actor, as a protester. You know, he's been to several protests and fought for the rights of several people. And you look at a man like that, and he definitely was hurting from the inside out, and, you know, he'll always be remembered. There's something, you know, bigger than him. You know, maybe we really take a look at what these drugs are doing. We had 2 black, you know, actors, comedians die this weekend. You know, one allegedly from heroin overdose that could have been laced with something. Who knows yet? You know, we didn't get the report back. And then, you know, we have this group of people who were doing some drugs, and it was laced with fentanyl. And just to give you a perspective on fentanyl, fentanyl is a strong medicine made from opioids. It's up to 100 times stronger than other opioids like morphine, heroin, or oxycodone, which I've taken recently, oxycodone, dealing with my surgery I just recently had. Drug dealers often sell fentanyl as fake oxycodone. Wow. You know, here you are out there trying to just feel better because you can't. Now listen to this. because you gotta look at perspective sometime, right? You gotta see, like, you might say, well, why would you be out there looking for that? But I can tell you that if I didn't have insurance and if I wasn't in an accident that wasn't of my fault, and I had back issues the way I've had back issues and I didn't have insurance, I couldn't pay for that medicine. I couldn't pay for the ease of the pain. And I'm in pain, to be quite honest with you, because I have to be honest with you. I'm in pain. And I can tell you that not having that stuff, oh my God. Whew. You talk about just doing natural remedies and shit, but not with what I had going on. Drug dealers often sell fentanyl as a fake oxycodone. Buyers may think they're getting oxycodone, but they're getting another opiate drug that has fentanyl and other substances in it. On the street, these drugs have nicknames like beans, green apples, shady 80s, fake oxy, greenies. I mean, shady 80s is pretty cool. But, I saw this video this morning where this guy recorded Philadelphia, and it was like a 2 minute 40-second clip, where these people were so strung out, garbage everywhere. It's sad, because it only takes really like one hit of that stuff to really get you. And that's what they don't really put out there. It only really takes one hit of heroin to really take you there and make you want it forever. And we gotta really, if you're a person who does this stuff or does cocaine, which are also putting fentanyl in it, and people are dying and overdosing from it, thinking that they're just getting some cocaine. If you are a person who does this stuff, the drug community, y'all gotta talk to each other. We gotta have an actual conversation where we say, stop doing that. What the fuck is wrong with you people? If you don't have it, then you don't have it for sale. Don't lie to people. It's terrible what you could leave behind just because you wanted a quick sale. And I say, again, if you are a person who does this stuff, then you should have a talk with your drug dealer, Have you heard about this fentanyl stuff? What is going on that people are putting it in blah, blah, blah? Bring it up. Because it could be you next. Like I said, Michael K. Williams could have just been having, a little hit that he needed for the day. And I'm not co-signing it. I'm just saying that sometimes, like I said, in those countries that they legalize all of these kind of drugs, I think Venezuela. Let me not just say that, right? Let me, what countries have, I think Amsterdam or someplace like that. Portugal. Portugal is the first country that has decriminalized the possession of small amounts of drugs to positive results. Anyone caught with any type of drug in Portugal, if it is for personal consumption, will not be imprisoned. We got people who just get thrown into jail, and then there's drugs in jail. Like, we're pretending as if there's no drugs in jail, and then they come out of jail, and then they're looking for it on the streets, and they got the pressures of, being clean, and then running away from their PO officers. There's a lot of that. There's so much back and forth. And we're not addressing the root problem that's going on in this country. Mental health. Mental health. There's no way that this country is doing well in mental health, especially after a pandemic. Especially after all the things that went on last year when people just wanted to fight for their rights as Black Americans, and people joined in as other Americans, Asian, white, Hispanic, and then they all said, yes, there's something going on. Even though they helped out, and you may think so that it was their duty if they wanted to or not, they still went through something. And seeing that stuff is hard to unsee. There's an issue in this country, and it's definitely mental health. You have people out of work around the country, actors out of work, trying to do anything, being ridiculed because they have to do Uber or Lyft in a pandemic. Who was that? The rapper? I forget his name right now, but he had to do Uber or Lyft, one of those things, and people were making fun of him. Those are real people. People are dying around the country, and they could be one of them. There's a lot going on, and depression and anxiety are on the highest levels right now for everyone. And we're just worried about opening up the country, get the shot, force people to get the shot. There are some people who wear masks. I told you about that a few episodes, People wear masks and don't intermingle with so many people. Don't force everyone. Force a mask mandate. That's how you get rid of this thing. Force, quarantine for certain things. Stop getting ready to just open back up. There's too many things going on to just open back up. Kids are dying now. The Delta variant is getting worse. And it's not just because of the unvaccinated. The vaccinated are getting the vaccinated sick as well. Because they believe that they can go out and do anything they wanted. Girls going wild, guys going wild. This is what's going on now. I'm vaccinated. Oh well. Super spreader events. Oh well. Concerts everywhere. Right now, there's people trying to build back their homes. In New York City, there's people missing from Hurricane Ida. I don't know if you've seen that clip of the divers trying to find a family in a basement apartment. I had an aunt who lived in the basement apartment. It was like a studio in the Bronx. I remember going there. Now just thinking about it, that apartment must have been flooded. She doesn't live there anymore. But the person who lives there now, because, it's just temporary, all those places. Temporary souls moving along. And you think about a place like that and where you've been, 3 people who were living together, a mother, a father and their child dead, found drowned. There's the issue. They could have been warned. There should be better circumstances for these known extreme weather conditions that are continuing to surmount themselves on people. They weren't even warned until very late. And again, you have people who say, just leave. For some people, you can't just leave. So there has to be some other way to really help people get out. There's residents of an elderly home left in a basement on mattresses surrounded by water. There's video of that. They were just on mattresses, just left. Could you imagine dying that way? Just because there was no real warning? Just because people who knew about this could have done their job and they just didn't? There are people elected for these positions. You got to get them out. If the infrastructure doesn't change in this country, you got to get them out. There's still people missing in New Jersey that we don't even know of. We don't really know who died or who hasn't been found yet. Like Michael K. Williams, he was just alone in his house. You got to pray for these people. You got to pray for America. There's so much going on. It's just it's too much. It's too much for a lot of people to really actually survive in. You got to be thankful for, if you're surviving in a really good way, you got to be thankful for that. If you got food and electricity, they're talking in, New Orleans, people not having electricity for a month. Some of us couldn't survive that. Wanting to charge our phones, get on Instagram, the addiction. The addiction's so high. And then the people we need to worry about, they just get away with the highest crimes. The biggest crime in America is wage theft. And I want to put you guys on this, because wage theft is, it is the biggest crime in this country. And it's hard to arrest these people because of the pyramid scheme that they do. I want you to really listen to this. All right, check it out.
Last summer, in the midst of the pandemic, a historic storm lashed through Cedar Rapids, Iowa, leaving billions of dollars in damages across the state.
You can tell how many buildings were damaged. Yeah, there was another building right there at the corner that got completely destroyed.
Pablo Ramirez hired a group of construction workers from Texas and Mexico who did not speak English. He says he did not ask their immigration status. Ramirez hired the men as a labor broker for Blue Sky, a restoration construction company based in Colorado. Ramirez says he and the workers stayed here at one of the sites they were supposed to rehab. The conditions, deplorable.
They were not rentable. They were not rentable.
For over 3 weeks, the men say they worked without getting paid by Ramirez or Blue Sky, which had estimated revenues last year of $100 million. By the end of the month, they've run out of food. Royce Peterson is the head of the local carpenters union. In desperation, the workers turned to him for help.
We found out that these 6 workers hadn't eaten 4 days.
Wow.
Nothing. I said, go buy them some groceries. Let's get these guys fed.
even though they weren't union members.
We're out there to fight for the workers against unscrupulous contractors. And no matter who you are, if you're union or not.
When Ramirez told Blue Sky the union was involved, he says they told him to fire the workers, who now had no food, no cash, and no place to live. This is where the guys stayed. This is Welcome to Six.
Yep. This is where they came.
Reverend John Grieve opened his church to the workers who slept among the pews that first night. How long did it take for you to decide you were going to cook them a meal?
Less than 5 minutes.
You gave them the keys to the church?
Yes, I did.
Literally.
They weren't strangers. They were just people I didn't know.
They asked for full and immediate payment.
Meanwhile, a picket line was set up outside the workers' job.
Did you hear what he said? They weren't strangers. They were just people I didn't know. How beautiful is that?
Site. The demand?
Pay them their back wages and pay them for their travel expenses.
Facing mounting backlash, 2 Blue Sky executives flew in, agreeing to pay the workers after a day of negotiations, in exchange for non-disclosure agreements. Wage theft victims are usually low-wage workers, sometimes undocumented, who are often too intimidated to complain. Experts say some companies hide behind labor brokers, claiming they never promised the workers anything.
And I just want to put you on real quick. Amazon is the biggest company that does this. Okay? Amazon is the number 1 company that does this, where they hire people through different like employment groups or whatever, and they're all temporary workers. And I'm going to tell you from the inside, Amazon will fire workers on the whim. I've seen it. I was never one of those people, but I've seen it. And it's terrible when you don't know if you're going to get fired from a job that was providing you with your meals, your home, everything. And in a whim, just because it's wintertime or something like that, something crazy, right? It's going to be slow. You're fired. And you don't even know until like a day before.
In a statement to NBC News, Blue Sky says their labor broker was the problem. The issue in Cedar Rapids arose because Mr. Ramirez failed to pay the people he personally hired, despite Blue Sky having paid Mr. Ramirez for that same work. Blue Sky says you're the one who messed this up.
Yeah, they can say whatever they want, but they know the truth.
It's estimated over $15 billion is stolen from workers every year.
It truly is an invisible epidemic. Some of the wealthiest investors in the world are profiting from the work of some of the lowest paid workers.
Investors like Dominus Capital, a New York-based private equity firm which is the majority owner of Blue Sky. Dominus did not respond to numerous requests for comment, and Blue Sky declined to be interviewed. But Pablo Ramirez, who says because of all of this he has lost his home, did agree to talk. Do you feel guilty?
Yes, I feel guilty for bringing my own people here to have them work and not getting paid.
When we contacted Blue Sky, they announced they'd be expanding their existing oversight program to ensure that partners paid workers fairly, accurately, and on time. Meanwhile, we've learned that city officials have Blue Sky under scrutiny in the city of Minneapolis.
Scrutiny's not enough. People need to go to jail. They know what they're doing by going through temporary workers to not give them benefits, to not get basic benefits. That's why when people say that they don't want a socialist country, it's like, what is wrong with you? You don't think that you paying taxes should do something for you? All these companies get all these kickbacks, these CEOs get all these kickbacks and bonuses every year, and y'all get nothing? We get nothing. We get nothing. We get a quarter raise, $1 raise. Oh, we got $1. And not even $1, because it's not usually $1 raise. It's usually like something really asinine, like 75 cents. Like, bitch, where's my quarter? I know I need a quarter. I know I deserve a quarter. Asinine. And just because they don't want to pay their fair share. And not just because they don't want to, because no one can force them to, because of the laws that are set up to protect them to do what they do. So you really got to wonder about the things and the laws that are set up in this country, and if we need to really restart. We have a lot of things to talk about that have to be restarted in this country. Last thing I want to talk about is this Texas abortion ban, because I'm getting the wrap up on Anchor. I've never seen that. I guess I'm usually just talking. Let me play this clip really quick, and we'll jump right into this.
We understand that some major companies in Texas are pushing back. Tell us the latest there.
So American Airlines and Silicon Laboratories have spoken out against this. Some of Texas' biggest employers, though, like AT&T, have been quiet about this. Bumble and Match, the dating companies, are both female-led and Texas-based. They've spoken out against this. And Uber and Lyft, they've set up funds so that their drivers can't be sued, or at least their legal fees will be covered, as this law really puts, except for patients can't be sued, but providers and anyone, quote, aiding and abetting, which that language is interesting, right? Because we're criminalizing in that language a constitutional right. But anyone helping someone get access to an abortion after 6 weeks can be sued, including those drivers that provide transportation. So Uber and Lyft speaking out about it, saying that their drivers will be covered, a handful of other companies, but a lot have remained quiet, some that did speak up for things like voting rights. Savannah?
Yeah, absolutely. And a reminder here, that's the big thing with this law, is that any private citizen is able to actually pursue legal action against somebody who's helping another person get that abortion. Now, Liz, what's next?
Division. There's a separation of church and state. You are not to impose your religious thoughts on me, on anyone, and especially a woman. You worry about what a singer or a rapper is playing pregnant as, but you don't want to support women in control of their own bodies. This is Afghanistan. This is not the way it's supposed to be. Women are supposed to have control of their own bodies. Women are not supposed to be aided and abetted because they wanted to go and have an abortion. That's not the way. And not the way even more is to allow it to happen, to watch it happen, to see it happen and do nothing and not speak about it. I can never not speak about this. You come from women. This earth, I believe that God has to be a woman because men suck. There should be no further male presidents for a very long time until the scar is fixed. No further questions, y'all.